Greenhouse gas emissions from the Northwestern power plant near Laurel are in the spotlight after the Montana Supreme Court ruled that the Department of Environmental Quality must conduct a thorough review. Good Thursday evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is John Martin. The Yellowstone Generating Station has been years in the making, but a Supreme Court ruling from last week is asking the Department of Environmental Quality to reanalyze its air quality assessment of the plant. Ren Wadsworth spoke with the DEQ and the plaintiff from the case to show us what this means.
The executive director of the Montana Environmental Information Center is calling the Supreme Court ruling a victory, while the director of the state's Department of Environmental Quality says they have no problem going back to complete a more thorough assessment of the Northwestern energy plant here in Laurel. In a unanimous decision issued on January 3rd, the Montana Supreme Court said the state's DEQ's analysis of the potential air quality impacts of the methane power plant was lacking. The DEQ must now take a closer look at the greenhouse gas emission potential, along with another analysis of the potential lighting impacts from this facility.
Ultimately, our read of the case is it is an absolute victory for the people of the state to know that the state is going to have to consider climate change when it permits operations that could have a serious impact on the climate. That is an enormous step forward, although it really feels like a baby step. It seems like something that the state should have been doing for at least a decade, especially when Montana has the strongest constitutional right for clean and healthful environment in the nation.
Hedges says the question now moves to what happens when that constitutional right is violated and the state fails to comply with the constitutional obligation to analyze those impacts, as MEIC believes happened here. She says the center will have to challenge and litigate these claims repeatedly in court as needed. Despite the improper analysis, the Supreme Court ruling reversed a district court's decision to vacate the air quality permit, allowing the Yellowstone Generating Station to continue operations for the time being. We asked the director of the Montana DEQ how they interpret the court's ruling that the air quality analysis was inadequate. DEQ says they followed laws that, during the time of assessment, prohibited the department from conducting a greenhouse gas assessment under the Montana Environmental Policy Act. Legal changes and challenges over the last several years have shifted the requirements to issue an air quality permit, now constitutionally requiring that assessment.
This is a procedural and this is kind of a balancing act, certainly not a failure. DEQ implemented the law at the time. There was the multiple court challenges. We also had the held ruling, which also has changed the landscape. The legislature in 2023 also changed the landscape in terms of what that law said and how we implemented it. And we've been nimble and reacted to those varying changes over time. We had a district court ruling. And so this is just another step in the process to go ahead and do that assessment and get that out the door.
The DEQ has been conducting GHG assessments since the district court ruling in Held versus Montana approximately a year ago. They plan to continue these assessments and expect to release updated analyses in the coming months, though no specific timeline is set. Once completed, DEQ says both the lighting assessment and the greenhouse gas assessment will be open for public comment. Ren Wadsworth, Nonstop Local.